Thank you, Mr. President. At the outset, allow me to thank you, Mr. President, for organizing this open debate. I also wish to thank Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief, Coordinator Ms. Amos, Undersecretary General for Peacekeeping Operations Mr. Leroy, and High Commissioner for Human Rights Ms. Pillay for their briefings. I further thank Mr. Yves Dakar for his statement. Mr. President, while the international community has endowed itself with a solid normative framework to protect civilians in armed conflict, actual compliance with the existing standards remain far from satisfactory. How do we translate this normative progress into concrete improvement in the lives of hundreds of thousands of civilians who suffer extreme violence and hardship during conflict? If a successful compliance with protection standards require an integrated and comprehensive protection strategy in collaboration with the main humanitarian actors, it remains that the primary responsibility for civilian protection rests with the concerned government itself. Furthermore, occupying powers under international law have the clear obligations to protect the population under foreign occupation. We would like to stress in this regard the implications of severe and sustained violations of international humanitarian law in the Palestinian occupied territories and the appalling humanitarian situation confronting the 1.5 million Palestinians confined to the Gaza Strip. There is a prevailing awareness that the UN peacekeepers cannot protect everyone from everything. However, protection is most successful when part of a larger strategy. The development of a DPKO and DFS operational concept and a framework to guide the preparation of protection of civilian strategies by mission is a good step in the right direction. There is a need, furthermore, to strengthen cohesion between mandates, resources, and expectations, and to enhance peacekeeping capacity, especially transport, communications, and intelligence. A mission that protects civilians under imminent threats, but makes no progress in helping address the underlying causes of the conflict, will not lead to sustainable peace, neither to a durable and effective protection of civilian populations. The United States, as the United Nations, is invited to assist countries in advancing the peace process and peaceful coexistence through inclusive dialogue, reconciliation, and reintegration. And in the course of establishing genuine and sustainable peace, the rule of law and the good governance should also be adequately addressed. The Security Council should also consider a more comprehensive and less selective approach on the protection of civilians in armed conflict. Armed conflict is the source of devastating calamities. This is why all around the world, brave and dedicated men and women strive to alleviate the suffering of innocent victims. All parties to a conflict should allow and facilitate rapid and unimpeded passage of impartial humanitarian relief to civilians in need. Mr. President, in his recent report on the subject of our debate today, the UN Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, considered that, and I quote, the Security Council has long recognized that the maintenance of peace and security will not be achieved or sustained without due attention being paid to redressing grievances, ending impunity, and protecting the human rights of civilians, end of quote. Parting from this principle, Lebanon reiterates its demand that Israel pay due compensation for the tragic human, environmental, and material losses caused by the war it waged on Lebanon in 2006. During and subsequent to this war, Lebanon has suffered greatly from cluster munitions which are indiscriminate in nature and have a devastating effect on civilians at the time they were used and long after the fighting ended. Today, I am honored to inform you that my government has submitted earlier this month the ratification instruments of the Convention banning the use of cluster munitions. Furthermore, Lebanon has offered to host the second meeting of state parties to this convention in 2011 and urges in this regard states that are yet to do so to ratify it. In conclusion, it is our moral imperative to prevent conflicts and to put the people in need of protection at the center of our efforts and our policy making. I thank you, Mr. President.